race for her seat is expected to heat up in the coming months. And Saikat Chakravarti, who is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's former chief of staff, was set to challenge Pelosi before she announced her retirement. Chakravarti joins us now. So you think it wasn't really her age that meant she should have stepped aside? It was more her ideas are outdated and we need to make room for your generation?
Yeah, I've said from the start that I think this is not just about Nancy Pelosi. I think we do actually need wholesale change in the Democratic Party. I think we need new leaders in there who actually have the courage and the strength to stand up to Trump right now, because I do believe we're in the middle of an authoritarian coup. And I think we need legislators who are going to use every tool at their disposal to stop that. But beyond that, I think we have to realize that for most people in this country, wages have been stagnant for decades while the cost of essentials have been skyrocketing. The American dream has been shattered. And that's why we're getting people like Donald Trump elected. It's also why we had Barack Obama elected. People are voting for bold, sweeping change every chance they get. And I would like to see a Democratic Party that is clear about who they fight for, that's clear about what they fight for and what the plan is to actually reverse that. And that is a change that I've been trying to bring about since I started this campaign.
Now, a lot of Democrat whisperers, will talk about whether the party needs to, move to the center, move a little bit to the right, or move to the left. I assume you're one of the people who thinks a move to the left is what's called for here.
No, I actually think those labels really turn actual ideas and plans into simple one-dimensional words, and they mean a million things to a million different people. I'd like to talk about the actual ideas on what we need to do. So when I'm running, I'm saying we actually should be providing health care to everybody, like every major developed nation does. America is the only country in the world, the only developed nation in the world that doesn't do this, and we're the richest nation in the world, right? I think we need to actually be taxing the richest in our society. I'm calling for a wealth tax on billionaires and centimillionaires to fund a lot of this stuff. This is overwhelmingly popular. I'm calling about anti-corruption measures. I think members of Congress should be banned from trading stocks. I think we should get rid of big money in our politics. And I'm calling for setting the country on a mission to actually rebuild our manufacturing, rebuild industry, create high-wage middle-class jobs all across the nation, the way FDR did during the New Deal and during the mobilization for World War II. Now, the funny thing is, all this stuff, you might say it sounds like progressive ideas, but it polls at 60, 70, 80%. So definitionally, that's in the center of the country. I think the real divide right now in our party is amongst Democrats who actually want to have a vision to build an economy that works for everybody, who won't take corporate and lobbyist money, who actually will fight for people, and Democrats who frankly don't want to do a whole lot. They're very comfortable sitting in there, and I'd say they are comfortable protecting a broken status quo.
Were you heartened by the sort of drift of the results on Tuesday?
I think it's very exciting because when I talk about what actually needs to happen in this country to make it a place where people can afford to live again, to make it a place where we restore that American dream, where children will do better than their parents, I think it needs a kind of politics where you find the source of your power, not from corporate donors, not from big money donors, but from people. And that's really what I'd say Zoran's campaign in New York showed us, is that he was able to, despite being outspent, I think like 100 to 1, he was able to create a real movement because of the strength of his ideas, because he was actually touching a chord amongst New Yorkers where they were really feeling what he was talking about. And I would like to see a movement like that all across the country where we get Democrats elected on the strength of people-driven movements, because I think that's the only way we'll get a party that actually has the courage to present big ideas like this, to create an economy that works for working people.
I mean, if there is going to be a movement, as you just described, I mean, you would need Mamdani to succeed in New York City. I mean, this is going to be really interesting to see how he actually governs, right?
Absolutely. And this is a big part of what I've been working on at my think tank for the last 5 years, because it's not enough just to have campaign messaging. And this is one of the critiques I have of a lot of establishment Democrats is the messaging often they'll get it right. They'll talk about affordability. They'll talk about working for working people. We actually have to govern and deliver that, right? When I look at the history of our own nation, there was a far-right movement in the 1930s that was filling Madison Square Garden with these Nazi rallies. And the way we defeated that movement was FDR came in with the New Deal movement, and then through the New Deal and the mobilization for World War II, he built a whole new economy that actually improved people's lives, dramatically. He built the industrial base, he built the middle class, and that proved that democracy can work to improve your lives, that you don't need a strong man and authoritarian to just tear it all up and do it for you. So I really wish Zoran Mamdani the best of success and the best of luck. I think he's taking that job very seriously because a lot is riding on it. I think you actually have to prove that you can deliver. And I'd say same with the Democrats at a national level. I've been working on a plan for the last 5 years at my think tank with a whole group of people. That's our version of a Project 2025. What do we do on day one to actually build an economy where everybody can make a decent living off of 8 hours of work, 5 days a week? That's what it boils down to. And we need a real plan. And I often, I'll be frank, whenever I've talked to establishment Democrats, they don't seem all that interested in what's the actual plan to do this stuff. All I ever hear is what's the messaging? What's the positioning? How do we message this? I think it's not just about messaging. We got to actually have a vision for what to do and then execute that vision.
Right. And you personally, so your plan is to hopefully take Nancy Pelosi's place in the House, right?
Yes, that's the plan.
And how are you going to go about that plan? What's the plan for the next 12 months?
Look, when we've been campaigning for the last 10 months, and this is the thing that I've found going door to door and the polling that we've done is that when citizens and residents of San Francisco hear about this campaign, when they hear about my background, having actual experience in Congress, turning big ideas into legislation, when they hear about what I'm running on, things that are all overwhelmingly popular in San Francisco, they go our way. We see that in polling, we see that from door knocking, we see that from phone banking. So what I have to do is actually get my message and my campaign in front of every single voter in San Francisco, and we're well on our way to doing that. We just held a campaign rally about a month ago. 800 people showed up. It's completely unheard of. I've never seen that in a congressional campaign about a year out from the election. We've been doing canvasses every weekend. We're getting dozens and hundreds of people showing up to those. We've had over 2,000 volunteers already knock on over 40,000 doors. We're on our way to actually getting this message in front of everybody, and we know that if we do that, we're going to win this race.
Saikat Chakravarty, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.